But let's go ahead and transition now to the North American side of things. We're going to take a quick look at the bracket of what happened in day number 1 as Allegiance fell to the Challenger Cup team Salsa Squadron, as did Team Cryptic.
Now, I actually talked to Salsa Squadron after the fact. I said on the desk yesterday, if you tell me who your shot caller is, please DM me, let me know. It's Sheyka. Sheyka is their shot caller, and Sheyka, has been in the Challenger Cup scene for a very long time, and this team has beaten Team Cryptic when they were in the Challenger Cup team a lot of the time. So once you find that out, not really surprising, and they play totally differently than NASBL.
It's not very often that a shot caller is going to be coming out of that mid-roll, but Sheyka has that experience, and it seems that it's been definitely helping them out. Today in day number 2, they're going to be against Noble Esports, and I'm looking at this matchup here. I'm really looking at the jungle matchup.
The jungle matchup should be very clutch, considering that we have iFate's yunglad now against Skeeledon, and Skeeledon is a very experienced player. iFate's is not, and that's just pretty objective. And Skeeledon, he makes these calls, and sometimes his team doesn't follow up, but whenever they do, it goes really well for them mostly.
I mean, so far it's so good, honestly, for Salsa Squadron. There's a little bit of a flashback from the spring split of the way Oxygen Supremacy got that impressive 7-2 run, but that was at LAN. They had all the momentum. Do you think the momentum is still carried through between day 1 and 2 for Salsa?
I mean, no, because momentum is very time-based, I would imagine. One after another, you have that Oxygen Supremacy. Granted, Oxygen probably loses those games against Trifecta because they're so, worn out. And whenever you don't have that, maybe you just perform better, and when you get the momentums, even in the first set that you play in the next day, you should be able to continue.
So what does Noble take away from the last 2 sets that Salsa Squadron was able to do against ALG and Team Cryptic here?
Well, not having to play against those teams, you don't have their play style in mind until you watch the game. I'm hoping and I'm expecting that they went back and watched the VODs. They watched these games back and they said, okay, well, what do they play? Amaterasu, Warriors, Jungles, Guardians. You can play against that once you learn how to do it.
And there's a lot of diversity here from the composition from Salsa Squadron. The Challenger Cup team are here. They're serious. They already took out 2 SPL teams. They're going to try to go for lucky number 3. And at the final boss at the end of the rainbow in North America, it's going to be Team Vigilant. How do you think their chances are for either team?
Now, Vigilant, I would imagine, has a little bit of an edge over Salsa Squadron if they were to make it through to Vigilant, because their shot calling is pretty much very similar. When you have Salsa Squadron making these calls one after another, and you're getting these objectives after leashes and back and forth a lot quicker than people would imagine. I think in their second game against ALG, they did a Gold Fury at 3 minutes because of Athena ult. But whenever you do that, Pain de Vion on the other side also does similar calls.
The Meatloaf definitely likes to lead his troops here, but I'm looking at these 2 matchups, and what are you expecting? Does the momentum stop right here, right now for Salsa Squadron, or do they move on?
I think they move on, but I'm going to say that Noble, they're a little bit better as a team. They had a little bit of a closer matchup with most of the teams they played in the NASPL, and I think this goes to 3, but Salsa Squadron should be able to pull this one out.
Well, if there's any sort of chance here for Salsa Squadron to keep the pressure going here, they're going to need to go through Noble here, and let's go ahead and throw it over to Graham and Taco for the cast.
Thanks so much, Anatoly and Ron on the desk. Let's go, Taco. What we're going to see today?
I'm really excited for Noble to be playing, and it's been a while since we've gotten, well, I guess not that long, actually. It's been about a week, but, it always feels a little bit longer than that.
So what's the keys to victory here for both these teams? I guess Salsa Squadron, we should start with those first. What's their big key here?
Actually, Noble, I think, has a pretty big advantage here, considering that yesterday, if I was Salsa Squadron, I would have wanted to keep playing every single set after that. That was just an incredible run that they had. I really would have.
Oxygen Supremacy
I really would have preferred that if, as a player perspective, just because I don't think they had as many sets that they had to burn through in comparison to Oxygen Supremacy's run. And another thing to keep in mind is that they're coming into this cold now. It's not the same sort of advantages that they had against the other teams from yesterday or against Cryptic, where they were going into things already warmed up. For Noble, they actually have a very solid opportunity. They had the night to kind of just look over those strats and really try and develop their own against it.
All right, then. Let's go and pick some bands. See how this one works out between these 2. Salsa Squadron, the Challenger Circuit team, up against the 5th seed in North America. Be an interesting one. Nemesis will be the first band, so already you're going to take away any protection shredding issues that she gets.
Could allude to Salsa Squadron possibly looking for more of a frontline tanky composition. Also, just never really wanting to have to worry about Nemesis Skeeledon. It's one of his primary go-to picks, and I mean, there's a couple of those for Skeeledon, and there's the other one, actually, Circuit. So Salsa Squadron already trying to just take a look at the jungle.
And what will the last ban be is the real question now for Noble here, because I do feel like NA and EU really have changed the meta for themselves in terms of like NA and EU now have two separate metas, I feel, in terms of picks and bans anyway. NA pretty much like to ban away some of these assassins and some focus bans. EU still taking away RTOs and losing carbs, those sort of things.
Well, in this kind of circumstance, though, Salsa Squadron are kind of just going to try and run it back with what worked out for them so well yesterday. That Athena selection, really like this pick for Mineral. He's done a great job on it so far, and looking to just kind of have that same sort of success with the Athena again.
Well, Fafnir is a nice little answer to that in a few ways. Obviously, if Athena comes in and tries to taunt, you can ult or throw a hammer in her face before she can get the taunt off too. As well as provides a lot if you want to run something like a Sol or a Hyper Carry, can come to the rescue. But no Sol here, will be the Raijin, which has risen to fame over recent weeks.
A lot of pressure already from Noble's draft just with these two picks alone, especially if Fafnir could potentially be starting in the mid lane alongside of that Raijin. You know that they're going to have a ton of lane clear potential. Should be a relatively easy way to prevent Salsa Squadron from looking at any buff invades.
So with Cabrakan and Athena here, they've got to be careful about mid lane because it could be 3 mages deep in this game as well with how this one's looking. Looking like Cabrakan jungle with Chulainn now being locked in, although Chulainn can jungle too.
We saw a lot of Chulainn yesterday from Bruh. He had a great performance on that as well. And of course, with these players, this was kind of more Noble kind of peeking into the knowledge that they've known from these guys just being in the scene for so long, hanging around that Challenger Circuit area. For that Cabrakan, though, I would probably prefer that to go into the jungle just because it has a lot more lockdown potential against the Raijin.
Yeah, agreed. It can cause a couple of issues with those stuns as well. Soulban comes out, as does the Raijin ban from Salsa Squadron. Back over to Noble here. Probably going to focus on another mid laner, I guess.
And focusing out the mid laners now when they already have theirs selected is probably the best way to go. Sheyka, having a little bit of competitive experience, is actually a force to be reckoned with in that regard. I really like the selection here, though, for Noble to eliminate that Kernanos. They know that Wowy has a very deep god pool when it comes to the hunters, so it makes things a little bit easier on Noble and probably a little bit more difficult for Salsa, considering that was all that Sops ran yesterday.
That's true, and I think that's just Noble doing their homework. They watched the games yesterday and went, wait a second, we're playing Salsa? We probably didn't prep against Salsa, thinking we're like, you know, they've got to go through 2 games yesterday to get here. We don't have to worry about them just yet, but now you've got game tape of what they've been running. You can try and answer it back.
And the Jing selection as well, just having so much survivability, going to be really annoying to deal with if she makes it to that mid-late game area, since she'll have so much critical strike potential if she's looking for it, or even just a lot of shred in general.
Tell you what, that Poseidon pick is fantastic for Salsa here against that squad that Noble have drafted. Every single one of them would like to leap away or dash away using the driving strike with Hercules, for example, to get away from the danger. And a Dargy as the final pick. Okay, then.
A little bit of flavor, it seems, from the Skeeledon himself.
Okay.
He's really looking for it this time, and I actually like the dodgy pickup here. I think that a lot of players kind of undervalue how much damage she can actually output.
I know she does a lot of damage, but I'm looking at the squad he's against, and tickle damage is what I kind of see. It's bleeds. You want to consistently bleed people and keep the dots on. Athena's going to be okay with that. Cabrakan's going to be okay with that. Chulainn, he's not going to be too upset about that either. I think it's only really the carries that have to be a little bit careful around it. And then, even if he does do that, then Poseidon whirlpools his feet and goes, all right, jump on me. Now you're going to have a bad time.
But the concern here is that you just mentioned tickle damage. Look at Salsa Squadron's lineup, though. Who is the main damage dealer here? It's going to take Sops a little bit of time to get the itemization online that makes Calder so potent on that Skadi. And Sheyka, he's kind of banking everything onto the Kraken.
Very true indeed. We do see a hog start from Bruh on that right-hand side of the map. So he's going to be able to have the hog at the start of the game. Will help Cabrakan out, who's going to be in the jungle here by the looks of things, and how this stands now. So that's going to allow him to help clear the jungle a little bit quicker, because obviously their level 1 together isn't necessarily the strongest in terms of clearing, but it is the strongest in terms of probably fighting. They're pretty strong in that sense.
Yunglad on this Cabrakan is probably just going to be looking for early wraparounds, not necessarily onto the solo. I wouldn't actually be surprised to see him maybe put a little bit of pressure onto that duo lane, expecting Noble to just leave Wowy to farm by himself.
Well, Sheyka's going to be alone in the mid lane for now. Moswal and Wubbn will get wave clear advantage early on. Want to do a couple of basics to help that out. Meanwhile, though, both the solo laners and the junglers junglers have started at speed, and then they're going to rotate towards the blue. At the moment, this will speed up in favor of Salsa Squadron if they go for the blue because they have that hog, but they're going to hold it and go to wave instead.
Salsa Squadron actually just choosing to invade on the left-hand side of the map. They already took away the red buff from Wowy. Wowy, though, recognizing that he didn't have any real way to try and initially contest the farm. Great secure there, I'm pretty sure. Wowy
Doesn't matter, he's dead. Doesn't matter, he's dead. Doggy to the rescue. Caldeir comes through, and Sops gets first kill. Wowy just tries to defend that buff, and it costs him his life. So that means Salsa Squadron in the dual lane are monstrously ahead right now.
It was a great secure by Mineral and Sops just to make sure that Wowy wasn't able to actually steal it away. Interesting contest. Wowy probably would have been better off there just clearing out those back harpies, accepting the 2v1 scenario, and being Jing Wei, you're just banking so much on that knockup. Speaking of which, bruh, not having to take any risk at all thanks to that Hand of the Gods.
So Salsa Squadron in a fantastic spot now. They've managed to secure their own side, and with bruh managing to get into his rage form for a minute. Extra pressure in this lane. Obviously, there was two big meaty targets that Salsa Squadron have over there now. As Salsa Squadron on the left-hand side look for these oracles.
Here
Get him.
That's the reinforcements, though, but they weren't enough just yet. Speaking of which, Bruh's health bar getting incredibly low. That's why we're seeing that quick pan away. There's just a lot of action already happening on the map so early on.
Now, Bruh in this wave as well, he should be pretty solid as the game goes on. Obviously, Chulainn does have anti-heal with that spear, which shuts down a little bit of what Whalrus is going to bring with his Hercules. Obviously, Herc likes to stay in the fight and get poked down, but it's not the best day in the world for you sometimes.
Barb Spear having anti-heal provided on it is going to be an incredible ability for helping shut down Whalrus, but Whalrus is experienced. I think that he's played enough solo lane now to where his positioning should have never really put him to be directly against Bruh. He should be working on the back line or just trying to absorb damage for his carries to free cast.
I really feel Sheyka is going to be the big turning point in this game. I mean, obviously, Salsa Squadron and the dual lane are doing great now, but this Poseidon pick, it's a big pick. It's important that he gets these Krakens off well, and the Whirlpool placements are important. Sheyka has a bad game or gets focused in this. A lot of what Salsa Squadron have to answer back what Noble have brought to the table here is removed from the game.
But that's the concern, is Poseidon just relies so heavily on that Kraken most of the time as far as burst damage is concerned. And if Sheyka opts to use that as well, just to have objective contest or objective secure, then that's a huge team fighting ultimate that Salsa Squadron aren't going to have to their advantage.
So level 5 starting to come through now. You can see the solo and jungle for Noble hit level 5, just a little bit quicker than Bra and Yunglad, but everyone else in Salsa Squadron hit 5 ahead of their opposition. So Salsa just ahead for a moment.
And Sops actually level 6 over Wowy, who's trailing on 4. And this is all due to the fact that he tried to contest that purple buff so early on. Probably just regretting that one a little bit now. When he hits level 5, though, he should be safe enough to still avoid any of the extreme pressure that a Skadi can normally push out onto an enemy ADC.
Well, both speed buffs have spawned, and Salsa Squadron going to return to their own half of the map. Noble, the same sort of way. Skeeledon's going to do the moonwalk towards mid lane there, keeping an eye as he goes. Red buff, though, being looked at by Mineral, but with Wubbn now turning up to this side to help out. Well, he should be able to secure it and make sure he hits level 5 off this camp.
Wubbn just showing face there already makes Mineral go towards the mid lane as opposed to even trying to stick around, maybe look for that in-hand toss after an ability thanks to that Athena passive for the steal. You never really know when to expect that.
That's true. I do love as well what we see on the left-hand side there. Sops is actually lane freezing, realizing that he's got control in this lane. He's already a level ahead of Wowy. So just lane freeze, make Wowy come very deep for this. And this is why Wubbn's now going to have to come over too. Wubbn will help just push the wave and like, okay, you want to do this? As soon as Wubbn shows his face, you'll see Sops immediately just clear the wave and back off. Unless he gets the gauge done.
This is all he wants to do, though. Wubbn looking for the hammerstone. He's going to find it. Knockup connects as well onto Sops, but Wowy, he doesn't have his boots online just yet, so that damage is not going to be there.
A little bit of a rotation coming out from Mineral and Sheyka there as well to that dual lane. They could have looked for some pressure if they hung around, but instead, they'll settle for the oracles here at the moment. Can anybody get here in time to secure these? One goes the way of Noble there, so it's a split camp.
Surprised that I believe that was actually Wubbn who managed to steal one away. I didn't think that he'd be able to get anything off from that knockback off that title surge, but still looking for the plays. And I mean, it's a small victory, but it's still there.
I completely agree. And those small little victories just make sure you get map advantage, or at least deny map advantage for one team or the other. But how this game has gone so far, only that first blood is the difference, but it's superior farming from Salsa Squadron so far.
Trailing, actually, it's going to be Mineral looking for the engage now onto Skeeledon, forcing him out of his purification beads, but he'll be able to teleport away onto moswal, trying to get that dodgy ultimate to connect. Instead, it's going to be the knock-up from Whalrus that gets him back into the squad.
Oh, Skeedy's in trouble now. No chance to dash away this time. Shell comes through to keep him alive for a moment. Mineral misses the dash, and now the body blocks from Wubbn will come into play to slow him down. Skeely's still alive, as into the tower goes the young lad, but the Kraken from Sheyka is good, just not good enough to secure a kill.
Kraken was so perfect there from Sheyka, catching 3 members of Noble, but underneath the T2 tower, there's no one who can follow that up so early on, and he doesn't have his pen boots online.
Credit where it's due to Wubbn in that play. The shell helps to make sure Skeeledon stays alive a little bit longer too. Skeely was way in trouble there. Uses ult, uses dash, then was like, oh no, now I'm trapped inside the walls, has to run around the walls to get away, keep the pressure off him. Wubbn body blocks and shells, manages to buy enough time for good old Whalrus to turn up and then make sure the young lad has a bad time.
Just a tactical bait there by Skeeledon. You know that he had it all planned out from the get-go.
Of course he did.
Waiting for that shell from Wubbn to save his life. Can always rely on your support for a good time.
And now we'll see what happens next, because that was pressure there from Salsa Squadron, who had the advantage for the moment. They were the aggressors in that fight, and in the end, they're the ones that ended up taking a tumble, didn't find any kills they were looking for.
Still, Salsa Squadron maintains that 1K gold lead, just again showing that even though this team might be from the Challenger Cup, they certainly know how to farm out a map to their advantage, and it's worked out really well. Even though that's tied up now 1-1, only 7 minutes in and climbing, there's still plenty of time for some action to break out.
And now Salsa Squadron as well. They'll be in the Challenger Circuit next year, along with a couple more teams as well, as the Challenger Circuit will get some extra broadcast coverage as well going forward. We'll get to see all the teams, and I think the level of play in Challenger Cup will go up because some former pros from the league will be down there too. Skeely going to take a little bit of poke damage, but around the back at the moment, Whalrus was in a tricky position, but he pulls Sheyka back towards the safety of his team, and that will allow Salsa Squadron to get those fire elementals.
Wubbn, though, just right in the middle of everybody, waiting for moswal to make that rotation. They want to commit now onto Mineral, who's kind of just trapped in between, trying to get the Defender of Olympus off. Kraken going to save him some time, but not enough.
1 for 1 so far, and now the run is on, chasing down Noble. Salsa Squadron is not going to be able to find it just yet. Bra's out of range, Sops on the rotation, but Noble's back to the safety of their tower. It is a 1 for 1, Skeely for Mineral. I don't think Salsa Squadron's going to be upset by that. Not only did they get the fire elementals, they're now going to be able to take away the blue buff too on that right-hand side, which once again means a win for Salsa.
Noble's got to be careful with these little groupings. They want to try and surround members from Salsa Squadron to try and make sure that they can't get away from physical body blocks. Speaking of which, Sops now using that to just clear the oracles.
Yeah, clear him, just get for the team more than that. But if at the same time, if Wowy hangs around there, he's in trouble because Sheyka's there, Mineral's there, and immediately forces Noble to rotate to the gold for him to be like, are they doing gold? No. Okay, we're fine for a moment.
And little relief there for us also. Speaking of which, Mineral got to be careful looking for those clearing wards. Not going to be able to establish the vision this time. Not
at the moment, anyway. It's better to be safe than sorry at the moment. No reason to pressure too much. You've got wards around the Gold Fury anyway. You're not too worried about it being taken away for the time being. So just even things up. Skeely, though, level 9, looking to look into the enemy jungle. Bad news is, Speed and Blue have already been taken, and back harpies, even though they're tempting, they're always dangerous to go and take.
And this dodgy skin gets me every single time, watching it from the back, all the little tails.
Just bouncing away.
And so, I don't know, it just reminds you of like those fur coats.
I just don't understand what she does if she's got an itch in one of those tails, because those claws are going to hurt.
Oh, either way, right now, Whalrus is putting the hurt onto Bra. And look at that bleed damage. Skeeledon just completely eliminating Bra.
Dodgy is just going to put some beatdowns on it sometimes. That's what's going to happen, and it's a nice little pickup there from Whalrus combining with Skeeledon. Now they're going to get the Fire Elementals too, so still no Gold Furies in this game. The gold should even up a little bit more once again in favor of Salsa Squadron still being in the lead, however, but Noble still trailing in this game.
That's just the damage potential that makes Skeeledon such a threat on this dodgy. Speaking of which, yunglad could be in a lot of trouble right now.
Good stun. And now he gets to walk away with the walls too. Whalrus won't be able to get in range. Wubbn still wants to commit, but instead Wubbn's going to eat a Kraken to his face. And now he has to deform as well as the tower shot comes through. Young lad gets his stun up again, and Skeely comes in and eats a bit of poke for that too. Interesting play from Noble. They get punished for the mistakes.
That looked like one of those instances where everybody else from Noble was ready to back off, and Wubbn was still ready to keep going. unfortunately, since Wubbn did get taken out, now that means that Noble might be under pressure here in their own jungle.
They got away with that too because they just got their speed down in time before Mineral could turn up, look for some taunts and extra pressure. Now it's going to be Salsa Squadron looking to maybe pressure around the gold. Red buff is up on the left-hand side, and that's where Sops is looking at. Wowy's going to have to deal with that. Wubbn on the way, and probably the mid lane will join this team. Mineral and Sheyka coming up here as we look at solo lane, and the beatdown still going on.
Oh, speaking of which, Skeeledon, it was all, that's what they were waiting for.
Good up from Bra there. You realised he was in a lot of pressure straight away. Bad news is that Salsa couldn't do anything anywhere else. You know, that 2 versus 1 on that right-hand side, couldn't work out anything else to really do. They could have looked for some more pressure onto Wowy and Wubbn, but not the opportunity.
And Wubbn, speaking of which, not really ready to let the pressure go. Still trying to get these hammerstones off onto anyone. Skeeledon going to secure that blue buff for Whalrus, and good thing that he did, because had he not been soloing that, Younglad and Bra would have definitely looked for the invade.
It was a nice driving strike actually out of Whalrus there, just to stop him from being able to get into the jungle and see how low it was, and allow Skeeledon to secure. Oracles are going to be split once more between the two teams, so still very even. The first goal fury of this game, I think, is going to be a very big telling one here, Taco, with how this is looking here. That next goal fury on the first of the game could be the difference between who gets real control of this one.
Neither of these teams is really willing to let go of the map pressure so far. That's why we see so much of them challenging each other at every single opportunity. It's just, even their jungle pathways right now, as for the supports especially, they have to be incredibly careful, because the second that they step even 1 foot out of position, that's all it takes for either side to look for that collapse.
Well, you're following along with Sops and Minerals here. Sops gone for the Transcendence build this game, whereas Wowy on that Jing way decided to go for the Devourer's Gauntlets. Those Devourer's Gauntlets are stacking up the same sort of speed as the Transcendence, so it's power versus survivability a little bit more between these two.
And that's just going to come back to Noble, because they have a lot of risk-reward right now with their composition. They're banking a lot on Skeeledon being able to get that all-in burst, particularly just looking to maybe lower somebody out for moswal on that Taiko drums.
Talking about decision-making here as well, look at what Sheyka's gone for. Gem of Isolation as his first major item after his boots. Now, generally, do you see that out of the mid-lane mages on Poseidon, for example? You see Gem for control in the team fights, but it reduces the amount of damage done.
It's been a while since this kind of Poseidon build came to light, and I think it's being brought back now, because in a competitive setting, you don't necessarily need damage. You kind of can just sometimes opt for that utility usage, because if your team is able to make the plays, and you know that you can trust your teammates to follow up because you have comms with them, you have synergy, then you don't necessarily need to be the all-in burst right now.
If you actually think about Permafrost from Sops, as well as Whirlpool, as well as Cabrakan Tremors, what actually happens to a character if they get hit by all 3 of those? I don't even know. If all 3 of them line up...
You just stop moving. You actually start moving backwards whenever that happens. It honestly feels like you're just not even going anywhere. You're just stationary.
Because you're getting slowed by the Whirlpool and dragged in towards the center of it, technically. Then you've also got Sops, who's going to make you bounce around on the ice.
Oh, no.
And then you've got Cabrakan that's going, hey, you're not going this way, you're going this way. That's not fun to deal with, I'm sure.
Skadi Permafrost would probably be a blessing on top of a Whirlpool.
Please get me out of here. Well, there's a little bit of slip and slide for Wubbn, and now Younglad's going to give a bit more chase towards Wubbn. Wubbn going to blink, Younglad going to blink to the back, looking for Wowy, misses him. Into the sky goes the totems of Skeeledon with his ultimate as well, has to defend himself as well. The chains will pull those characters back in when he lands, only grabbing out of Minerals as Bra was immune for the time being. With that swoop in from Wowy, though, he was looking to secure Bra, who now has the shell to keep himself alive. Whalrus, though, caught with Skeeledon, thanks to the walls coming down from Younglad, caused so many problems for Noble there, and in the end, it's only Skeeledon that dies. But Salsa Squadron looking to turn this and get themselves a red and a purple on top of the kill.
Noble just got so split up in that fight. Wubbn had to back off to go and save the life of his hunter, Wowy, who was in a lot of danger. And now, actually, Younglad might get punished here for overextending a little bit.
If Younglad overextends, they're getting Gold Fury at the same time. Mineral churns up to slow them down, and that's a free Gold Fury for Salsa Squadron. They're up to just over 4,000 gold lead here after that little skirmish in the jungle that started around the red buff.
Entirely worth it for them. Younglad seemed as though he was kind of just throwing himself out there as the lone sacrifice for his team. Gold Fury is going to be worth that Cabrakan bounty every single time.
So now with that, Salsa can just go back, farm their own jungle, red, speed available, and the blue buff too for themselves. You see the net worth of 3 members of Salsa above the next 2, and it's Sops topping the charts in terms of gold income by a good 1,200 gold.
In that last team fight, Skeeledon had such a great ultimate. He burned out the purification beads from Sops, and he was also able to apply 2 of his chains onto Salsa Squadron from 1 hit of that ultimate. But with Daji, it just, once he expended his kit, there wasn't really anybody left on Noble to try and help him out.
Well, we saw Valence earlier on try this against Energy for a cheeky portal demon in response, but this time Salsa not really in a position to stop this outside of Bra, who ate a hammer straight away from Wubbn. So Noble answered back the Gold Fury. With that, Kraken comes onto moswal, but the Aegis will keep him topped up, and now Sheyka's in trouble, has to Aegis himself away from Skeeledon, who's applying damage, goes to the totem in the sky. The totem will not connect with the 3rd hit, will, and now he's going to get pulled into danger. Sheyka's still in trouble, but no one's there to follow up.
Everybody from
the boulder!
Noble just backed off. Skeeledon, he's still looking for it. He's going to be able to find it, but with that Trickster Spirit, that means he's trapped inside of 3 members of Salsa.
Meanwhile, while this fight's going on, yeah, they've killed Sheyka and Skeeledon's died in trade. Look at the left-hand side. Sops has taken a tier 1. He's working on a tier 2 as Noble are just trying to defend this onslaught of tanks on this right-hand side. I can't believe Sheyka lived so long. Nobody followed up.
Everybody, even Skeeledon, might not have thought that he had enough to actually kill Sheyka, so I can feel as though that's the main reason Noble didn't want to get caught out, pushing just a little bit further into that corridor, especially with Mineral on the front side there looking for that Athena taunt. I think that taunt actually bought Sheyka just enough time to get far enough into the backline and make it so that Skeeledon had to throw himself out there if he wanted to secure that.
You might be right. It might have just been Mineral that just saved his life long enough to force it for a 1-for-1 trade at least. 5-4 now. The tier 1 tower on the left died, and you can see tier 1 tower in mid and the right-hand side for Noble are both weakened already with how this game is going. At 17 minutes in, it is Salsa Squadron's game as it stands, with them being around 4,000 in the lead.
Noble, they're probably just relieved that they're going to be able to secure their own dual lane buffs this time. No one there to contest Wowy. So far, Sops might make his way back up through the jungle to try and challenge Wowy on his own buffs, but can't imagine that being the case. He already has such a massive lead built up. Doesn't really want to risk it overextending into the enemy jungle.
Talking about Sops a little bit more, you see the Heart of the Urchin pick up. He's gone for that. He's got a lead, and that's why Heart of the Urchin can be a little bit stronger. It's when you do have a little bit of a lead for yourself, get those stacks going, get the extra protections online. If you're behind and you're not winning the engagements, though, bit of a different story. It can cause a couple of issues for the gold investment if you don't get those stacks.
Considering that he opted for the Urchin, though, I would imagine that Sops is actually going to start rotating now to join Salsa Squadron with these team fights. And Salsa's been winning these team fights very well. And speaking of which,
in mid, not going to hit. Skeeledon pulls in Athena and goes, "You what, love? You want to try and taunt me? Come back here." So Mineral now forced out for now. Whalrus rotates, doesn't find the knockup he was looking for on Sheyka, who returned it nicely with the tidal surge. And now it's Noble pushing on a little bit more as Mineral has to head back to base.
The damage from 1,000 cuts is just coming up huge right now for Skeeledon. Anytime that Younglad or Mineral looks to be that frontlining factor, Skeeledon's doing a great job at just shredding them out initially.
Do you reckon that's one of the reasons why we saw this pick up dodges to deal with the Athena taunts?
It's not necessarily to deal with the Athena taunt as much as it is so much team setup for everybody else on Noble, because it's basically a mini Ares ult when you think about it, except you can pill it whenever you want.
You can pull it whenever you want, but at the same time, they've got to beads it to get it off them in the first place. We'll see what happens with this going forward, because, yeah, they do have this wombo combo, as people call wombo combos. The ult from Daji into a boulder and the drums coming out from a Raijin. Beautiful little setup there, but it's a dream scenario, you know? Everyone's going to have beads down, not be in a position to escape it with their own immune ultimates.
The dream is catching the members of Salsa Squadron in that ultimate and then having Wowy with the ultimate knockup so no one can cleanse it.
Speaking of that, talking about non-immune ultimates, there's not many on Salsa Squadron. Anyway, taunt from Mineral, though, and immediately moswal pops his ult. Taunts Mineral back into the tower, and then the totem pole of death comes out from Skeeledon. Keeps Mineral pinned in place, who's still tanky, but he's perfectly healthy. Now Whalrus turns up, and still Mineral being focused, but Sobs has already taken down Wubbn. Younglad still pressure as a Kraken hits onto Whalrus, but Whalrus weathers the storm quite happily.
And Sheyka actually getting poked out a little bit under 50% health now, but the Gold Furier's response Sops is full HP. He doesn't have his ultimate any longer because he used it to burn out Wubbn and the likes of Noble, but it's still more than enough damage for this Gold Fury.
Bro on zone duty, trying to keep Whalrus busy, who gets taunted by Mineral as well. Gold Fury goes down and immediately the aggressor to Wowy, who has to dash away. Bro going to commit for a second and pop the Raijin, looking for the root and finds it on Whalrus. The boulder from Whalrus will not keep him alive whatsoever as Sops gets himself another kill and a second stack on the Urchin.
It's just one of those circumstances where you throw out as much damage as possible in the hopes that maybe somebody overstays and then my team can respond. But Whalrus knew he was dead. He might as well drop that boulder. The cooldown will be up by the next time Noble's looking to attack Salsa, so can't blame him for that one.
But you're seeing exactly what's happening with Mineral now. He dashes in, taunts, and then he gets 2 ultimates because they try and kill him. They invested 2 ults into surviving the taunt and not being taunted or using their beads. But then they also commit those ults to him and he still lives.
While Noble was trying to kill Mineral underneath that T1 tower, Sops was just free casting on the tower, just throwing out every single auto attack possible, and that tower it will get completely shredded with this Skadi build.
Well, Salsa Squadron recognizing that last time they got a Gold Fury, Noble went and did the Portal Demon. So what do? Engage on the Portal Demon and get Skeeledon's ult as well. He's looking for the chains, but these chains are banning him out to dash over the wall to away. But Yunglad blinks in and goes, not today. Wowy has to airstrike to safety, back to his own half. Meanwhile, Bro tanking up a storm on the front side, but Thorns are keeping him alive for now. Kraken hits onto moswal and Sops cleans up the kill for a double. Bro still alive, the double tap from the boulder, not good enough to bring down Chulainn, and Whalrus drops down to Yunglad. 3 kills, make that 4 to Salsa Squadron.
It's just Wowy trying to be the lone savior of Noble right now, but Portal Demon going to be no challenge for Salsa Squadron to eliminate. Wouldn't be surprised to see them all come right back through that portal as well and try to take out the first Fire Giant of the game.
Looks like that could be the call. Maybe not. Sops is going to actually swing mid lane. The rest of his team doing Fire Giant right now. Surprised not to see the Skadi. Yeah, okay, Sops. I was like, why are you farming these creeps? I guess it was to make sure Jing didn't get a tier 1 tower, but his team took unnecessary damage.
That would honestly feel like a rank game right there.
Yeah.
If Sops had just gone to farm out the mid wave while everybody else is trying to secure the Fire Giant, it only would have been the cherry on top if Noble had actually stolen it in the end.
So now 22 minutes in. Fire Giant for Salsa Squadron. I wouldn't say they're having a nosebleed yet because they've already taken down 2 teams yesterday. This is the 3rd team on the list. If they do this one, they've got 1 more team still to face today. It's looking good for him, though.
It's looking really good right now for Salsa Squadron and for anybody in the chat who's been on the Salsa Squadron hype train. For good reason. This team has seemingly come out of nowhere and really been handing it to these competitive teams.
And this team, I mean, they've been playing together for a while in terms of the Challenger circuit, so they must be good to get to this point.
Well, that's actually the insane part about Salsa Squadron, is that this roster has actually changed numerous times.
Yeah. And they generally do in Challenger circuit anyway, especially when players get picked up to the Pro League, which we've seen happen, so they've had to make roster switches, but these lads looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. We'll see what they can do next, because with this Fire Giant, the tier 2 towers are a fighting point for them, especially with someone like Athena, who's Mineral's been doing his job the whole game. Absorbing damage, being focused out, and forcing ults like this for no reason.
And Bra there with the quick little juke away. Everyone just so scared of this Cabrakan, and for good reason. Yunglad is absolutely massive right now. 4-1-5 and a part of almost every single kill from Salsa Squadron so far. And having Fire Giant just means that Noble isn't trying to contest on these T2 towers.
I was going to say, do you go for Phoenix Edge? You go for the tier 2 in mid? Do you take all the towers for the gold?
You clear all the towers out from the gold.
Safe.
Leave Noble no avenues of escape.
And that seems to be the plan here, because they've still got Athena. They've also got the blink on Yunglad as well, and that Cabrakan who could just dive in and get some walls off onto a couple of tricky targets. Noble aren't willing to defend their tier 2s. I think they're just happy to try and sit at their Phoenixes. I mean, they are a little bit tankier now. You do have a bit more of an opportunity to have a bit more width in terms of defending and staying in a decent position.
Speaking of which, I love what Salsa Squadron is doing here, leaving Sheyka to clear up those creep waves. That way, all the lanes can try and be pushed in Salsa's favor. They're not going to look to keep trying to challenge Noble on their objectives, at least not for right now. Taking away all of those T2 first, spending all that gold that they just amassed, and now they can easily look to push right back up the mid lane.
They've still got a minute and 40 left, just under, on their Fire Giant. So yeah, they could go for a Phoenix, and they've just pinged the left-hand Phoenix there. Gold Fury's due up in 27 seconds too, so I'm expecting Gold into maybe a cheeky look at the Phoenix. They've just got to be a little bit careful there, because that's where teams can make a mistake of engaging as the Fire Giant wears off.
We've actually seen it a couple times already from Salsa Squadron where they do make the overcommits in these games that they've been massively ahead.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of that yesterday where it kind of just, the old habits are hard to kick. And sometimes you just want to forehead into the Phoenixes and the Titan room. But I don't think that Salsa Squadron can allow themselves to keep doing that. They might get away with it here in game 1, but they've got to be careful as time progresses.
Well, it looks like Salsa Squadron going to use the last minute of their Fire Giant buff to look for the Phoenix. And if they don't get it, they can at least fall back, get gold potentially. But leaving that gold fury up means that if you lose this fight and make some mistakes, you give Noble a small window to close the gap some more, not just the Fire Giant wearing off and then defending their own base.
And Noble, this is probably their best chance to try and have a turnaround here against Salsa Squadron. If they know, if they can defend their Phoenixes, this is going to be pretty much their last standing opportunity. Love what Salsa Squadron has decided to do here, though. Split pushing both lanes. Whether or not yunglad decides to commit to that mid lane Phoenix is another thing, but Mineral's ready to go in.
And there's a taunt attempt from him coming out straight away, but Mineral pulled into the danger. Drums come out, but the drums don't really do too much work. Meanwhile, Whalrus in danger. The Kraken missing from Sheyka really hurt them. Sops, though, focusing onto the Phoenix, which is a wise job as his tanks zone away Noble from the front lines. Bro in a bit of trouble here. Get some extra protections from Athena, and a good wall there as well. Coming into play from the young lad. Salsa Squadron came what they want and got what they wanted, which was the Phoenix, even though Bruh still under pressure.
Bruh's buying his team so much time. He actually baited Whalrus into the entirety of Salsa Squadron, taking a spill, but now he's going to get return fire for it.
Skeeledon will take out one, but get taken down himself in response. Wowy now has to get away, as does moswal. 26 minutes in, and Salsa looking to try and clean this one up. Wowy could die right next to his fountain. The taunt pulled him right back out.
And with 4 members dead from Noble, Salsa Squadron actually have a strong opportunity to end the game here. They're going to play it safe for right now. They're all relatively low. moswal could get an insane cleanup. He is playing Raijin. He's level 16. Not as farmed as he would like to be, but the opportunity is there.
I think I'm down for the Phoenix and then maybe Fire. That's what I prefer them to do. Actually, Portal Demon, then go Fire. You've got respawn timers for a while. It's only going to be Whalrus and Wubbn joining the fray for a little while. Skeeledon will be soon after. Could be a 5v fight at the Fire Giant next, unless Noble just try and hold up the Phoenix.
I was expecting them to maybe look for the end there. There was 30+ second timers on Noble on 4 members. The only concern would have been that Raijin bouncing around Salsa, but as long as they were relatively spread out, you have Calder.
You called it yourself though. Like, why not? Why make a mistake? If they've been making mistakes earlier on in this tournament of like,
that's the thing,
staying around too long, like, play it safe.
They're playing it safe. That's the thing. I think that a more experienced team might have felt confident enough to look for that all-in end there, but
we've seen teams do that before, though, even if they have been confident and more experienced, and make the mistake of going too far, you know?
Oh, trust me, E United still remembers.
Oh, yeah. A few of them do. That's the biggest problem. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Wowy versus the world at one point. Do you remember that?
It was Wowy. So I can't blame them.
Take that into account. I mean, they do have Wowy on that team, so he wasn't alive then.
Wowy was dead, though. It was moswal trying to live on in his legacy.
And then Wowy's there just like, listen, this is easy. I've done this once before. You're just going to do it the same. We could turn this game on its head. So instead, Fire Giant to Salsa. 1 Phoenix remaining. 5 minions left. 5 minions right. And Salsa are looking to close out game 1. This is a best of 3, though, so just keep an eye on Mineral, looking for the taunts. He will catch Wubbn, who gets pressured for a second, has to dash away. Skeeledon now takes to the sky and has to use his ultimate to try and pull in a couple of targets. Oof. Gets them, but meanwhile, Bra is deleting the backline, the triple tank composition from Salsa Squadron doing work, allowing Sops and Sheyka to do whatever they feel like. Pinned in a corner was one, but a Kraken to the face deletes another, and this should be game 1.
And that is going to mark the start, at least for today, on Salsa Squadron's run to Super Regionals, possibly.
28 minutes too. Solid performance from them. Noble back to the drawing board once more. I didn't mind their picks and bans too much, but then I like their picks, I guess, but then looking at what the enemy picks against them, I think Salsa did very well in terms of their own picks.
It wasn't the picks and bans for Noble that I had an issue with. It was the fact that they allowed Mineral to have that Athena pick yet again. We saw it all day long yesterday, and he is so proficient on this Athena. It's making life super easy for the rest of Salsa Squadron, just being able to play off of those taunts. And taunt is incredibly difficult to play around at a competitive level.
I mean, they banned out Sops' Kronos there, thinking that was the issue. Maybe it was the Athena. We'll see what changes.